So what's up guys, today we're going to be talking about, well if you already read the title, you know what we're going to be talking about, so that means we don't need this, so let's just get rid of this. We're going to be talking about how to shoot video on a smartphone. So this is going to be the first part of the budget filming series, so let's get right into it. So in this video, we'll talk about just using your smartphone by itself, and we won't talk about using any other tripods or stabilizers, as for a lot of people, they might not be able to use this equipment or have access to it. So we're going to be talking about using the smartphone in your hands. So usually when it comes down to filming on a smartphone, it comes down to two choices. It's either Android or it's iPhone. And personally for me, the best choice is Android, as I use the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus every day as my daily driver. And I find that the quality on the phone that I get from it is really spectacular, as like it shoots in 4K, as most flagship smartphones do nowadays. And other than that, it just feels really good in the hand to hold, and yeah, it just built really well. So when I picked my phone, I made sure that if I was to use it in the sun while shooting some video, that I would be able to see the screen properly. And most phones nowadays are pretty good with that, and they're pretty bright screens, so it shouldn't be much of a problem depending on no matter what phone you pick. So when you get comfortable with your smartphone, the next steps that you need to take to make your videos look good is go to your camera settings of your phone. So let's go check out some techniques on how to film with your smartphone. But first, hey Google, what's the weather outside?
Currently it's 3 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, it will be partly cloudy, with a forecasted high of 3 and a low of -1.
The first thing that you want to do when you find the smartphone that works for you is that you want to get comfortable with it. So I've had this now for about a month or so, and I got really comfortable with it. And what I found is that because it's a big phone, you gotta hold it from both sides, but the only problem is that when you hold it like this from the corners, your finger tends to get in the way of the camera lens. So that's why I've had to get used to it for the past month, just so I know where the camera lens is. So don't be discouraged if you don't have a smartphone that's come out in the last couple of years. You can still make really good videos. It just comes down to you having good technique when you're filming. So because there's many aspects to filming with your phone, or filming in general, we're going to talk about all these aspects throughout the series. We're going to talk about the actual camera movement in this video. So there's 4 main types of camera movements when it comes to filmmaking. So this comes down to your pan, your tilt, your slider, and your tracking shot. So first we'll start off with the pan shot. So when you guys are filming with the pan technique, what you want to do is you're going to lock your elbows in so that they're nice and tight to your chest, and you're going to hold your phone from both corners. With my camera, since it's in the middle, I'm going to hold it from the bottom a bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a stable stance by bending my knees a bit, and I'm going to just turn my body, not moving the phone, I'm going to just turn my body. So what that allows it to do is it allows the camera to stay still, and because your body's so stiff, you won't get any movement in the camera. And next is the tilt shot. So for the tilt technique, we're going to grab exactly the same as when we did the pan technique, and we're going to just kind of move our body up with the camera. So pay attention to, as we're not moving the phone by itself, we're moving our entire body. So what we're going to do is just tilt ourselves up with the phone. So if you do want to get some more movement in with your camera, you can tighten your elbows again, and then you want to just slightly move your hands up. And now the slider shot's kind of complicated, so it's going to take a bit of practice to get it. To hold your camera the same way, so you're going to tighten your elbows in, and you're going to kind of get a wide stance with your legs, almost like you're doing a squat. And I know it looks weird, but that's how you do this technique. And you're gonna just hold the camera straight up, make sure everything's level, and we're gonna just bend down a bit, lock your knees, and we're gonna almost do like a lunge to one side. So yeah, it looks weird, but it actually makes your footage look like you're on a slider. And obviously if you don't own a slider, this is the next best thing. And lastly is a tracking shot. This shot takes a bit of stabilization, as you want to make sure that the camera doesn't move too much as you're tracking your subject. So with the tracking technique, it's exactly how it sounds. So you're going to have your subject, and you're going to hold your phone, and we're going to use the techniques that we talked about before, how you keep your elbows tight and locked to your chest, and you're gonna just follow your subject by walking. So say my subject's right there, I'm gonna just walk towards them with my elbows tucked in, and I'm just gonna follow. So don't forget when you're filming, most smartphones have a feature that can lock your focus and your exposure, so we want to use that. In the next video, we'll talk about transitions and what the best transitions are to use when you're filmmaking, and how to make your videos look better from that. So guys, right now I'm outside and it's like 2 degrees outside, so it's kind of cold, but my hand is shaking a bit, but if I can get stable footage out here, you guys can definitely get stable footage. So one thing I like to do before I start shooting is just double check my settings, because you never know if your phone did a software update or anything like that and the settings changed. So let me just check that quickly. And remember, because we're shooting B-roll, we want to shoot in some slow-mo. So what we're going to do is just go make sure our phone's in the highest frame rate possible. So most phones do 60 frames. And we're going to switch that. Yeah, everything's good. So yeah, so my phone's shooting in 60 frames right now at 4K. So the only thing when my phone shoots in 60 frames at 4K is that there's no stabilization on it. So what you're seeing is what we're going to get. So we're going to have to do some stabilization in post-production. Okay, so because my phone's shooting at 4K at 60 frames per second, it's not going to have any stabilization. So what we're going to have to do is most likely go into post-production and stabilize it if it doesn't look as good as I want it to. So right now the lighting's really good, as it's almost golden hour, and then later video I'm going to talk about the best lighting to shoot in. Because I'm starting with something simple like this tree right here, it's going to make something more interesting really easy to shoot, as I already have the basics of shooting something simple, and it's going to allow my mind to kind of explore and be more creative with that interesting subject. Another tip when you're shooting is you want to do a reveal shot, and this is going to be in the next video when we talk about transitions, but I'm definitely using some reveal shots in this B-roll sequence. So when you're doing a reveal shot, you want to make sure that you're behind an object, and then when you slide away from the object, you're going to see the subject in front of it. And we'll talk a bit more about this in the next video coming up. So when you do a reveal shot, you don't always have to hide behind an object with your camera. You can just use your hand. So what I like to do is place my hand in front of the lens and then take it away, so it transitions from a black screen to your subject. So besides all of these different techniques that we learned, we haven't mentioned the main one, and it's a tripod shot. So this shot is used all the time, but the only thing is that I don't like to use it because it's too basic and it kind of gets boring to look at. So when you use the tripod shot, it eliminates all motion and kind of creativity, as it's just a simple, steady shot. But when I do B-roll sequences, I like to change it up and add motion to it, and that's when you use these different techniques that we've talked about. If I had to say what my favorite technique would be, I couldn't really pick because I use all of them all the time. But when you use different techniques together, they can be really cool. So you'll see some of these different techniques being used together in the sequence. For example, if you get bored of doing the same techniques, you can kind of combine and mix them together. So if I was doing a pan and tilt together, you could pan while tilting up. So thanks for watching, guys. It's getting a bit cold outside, so I'm going to just end the video here. Hope you guys learned something, and stay tuned for the next videos coming out, as I'm going to put everything that we learned together